Hello and welcome to the ListenABLE podcast.
G'day, it's so good to be back with you, Angus, back with everybody listening, and the response just gets bigger and bigger, and we really appreciate everybody getting in touch and really enjoying what we're doing, because hopefully we're helping a lot of people, and we're trying to get a wide range of all different lived experience with disability. So, we've had people that were born with disabilities, had accidents, people who don't have disabilities, like who are experts in sex, like one of our previous episodes with my girlfriend Chantel. And today's going to be really interesting because it's something that I think people would want to know about, but don't really know how to go about. And I know this was, important to me, Angus, because I don't have kids yet, and I really want to one day. And it might be a bit of a, different process because of my disability, compared to someone like yourself.
Now, here's a cool thing about this particular episode, is this is going to be the first episode where somebody hit us up on our socials wanting to share their story. Up until this point, they've been friends of yours, Dylan, someone that you've worked with in the past, speakers you've seen on panels. But we got a message on our Facebook group. You can search it. It's ListenABLE Podcast, or on Instagram, it's ListenABLE_podcast. We do have an email as well if you do want to get in contact with us. But we got an email, I got a Facebook message from Ashlee Morton. It said, "Hey guys, I've done a lot of driving today and binged your podcast."
Great choice.
I love it. I'm a T6 paraplegic. And the next sentence after that was something that I decided with you, Dylan, that we had to hear the story of. So let's learn a little bit more about our next guest.
Hi, my name's Ashlee. I am, as Angus said, a T6 paraplegic. I was in a car accident when I was 2 years old, and I am a mum of two, among many other things.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you were in a car accident at 2.
Yes.
So you don't know life without being in a
not.
wheelchair.
You weren't driving, were you?
No.
No, okay.
Hey, Ash, thanks. So, Ash or Ashlee?
Either.
All right, I'm going with Ash. Ash, it's so good to have you on, and it's something that I think a lot of people in the able-bodied community, but also people in the disabled community, want to know a bit more about being a mother and the pregnancy and what it's like to do it with a disability. And we'll get to your beautiful kids, who I can see outside look like their mum. Luckily, they're gorgeous. And I just want to say, go back to the time when, as you can first remember yourself having a disability. Do you remember anything pre-accident?
No, nothing at all. I've got no memories pre-accident. I don't remember the accident. I don't remember my first memory, I was probably 3 or 4, so like 12 months after. I've got no memory of the recovery. There wasn't actually recovery. They weren't aware that I'd done any damage.
Right.
Because I was
You weren't crawling? There was nothing to show?
I was, and I was actually walking. I started walking at 10 months old, but I was a baby. Well, I was a toddler, and so people were carrying me everywhere. Like, I'd just been in an accident. No one was trying to get me to walk.
Right.
And that
Yeah,
sort of
wrapped in
thing.
cotton wool, yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can still crawl kind of with your arms. Like Ashley and I both could crawl, I guess, but because we didn't have use of our legs, we can crawl kind of.
Well, you've just made a comparison with Ashlee there. So you're T6. What is yours, Dylan?
Yeah, mine's up to about T6. So I'm incomplete, but only a little bit. So I've got like a tiny little bit of feeling and things in my legs.
Does that mean you're complete?
Technically, I'm incomplete,
Right.
but I present as complete. I have no sensation
Right.
or control. Yeah,
Gotcha.
or
All right. So you guys are from around the same spot down, which is interesting because that was one of my questions was, what's the comparison of break?
So mine obviously wasn't from a trauma as such, from a car accident. Mine was a tumor, so it would have different effects on the nerves. But I mean, looking at us, we look, a little bit similar, and you can check us out on YouTube if you want to, or our socials to see, because we're the same kind of size and things like that. And can you talk us through what happened that day, even though you don't remember it? Do you know what happened with the accident?
Yeah, so my mum was driving. We were driving down the back roads of the town that we live in, and I pulled my arms out of my seatbelt, as a naughty toddler does.
Right.
My mum turned around to say, "Hey Ash, put your arms in your seatbelt," and lost control of the vehicle and ran into a tree.
Were you in a toddler seat?
Yeah, so full 5-point harness, and I've pulled my arms out of that harness.
How did you reckon, when you've spoken to your family, how did it affect your family at the time?
It impacted pretty severely. So my mum was a single mum at the time, with lots of family support. but she was in hospital for a long time, so she was banged up really bad.
That's my next question was she couldn't have, she was in the front seat, so you in the back.
She took the full brunt
Yeah.
of the accident, and she was in the Austin, I think, for like a good 6 months. So
Could she be with you?
no,
Oh.
no.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the children's.
And would they transport you to her or her to you sometimes?
No, so I wasn't an inpatient for all that long
Yeah.
because
There's not much to rehab when you
Mm,
can't even do anything.
yeah, it was more more physio and that sort of thing, outpatient physio and that sort of stuff.
And just to give you an idea of age, I'm not going to ask what your age is, but this isn't a day where a time and age where you can Zoom meeting someone, FaceTime. It would have been pure isolation from her child, which would
It
have been
was 30 years ago.
yeah. So traumatic. I
Yeah.
mean, it's trauma on trauma, emotional and physical. I mean, that
Mm.
would have been really tough for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And then you got, obviously did she make a full recovery or?
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Great news. And then,
She's got some arthritis in her knee, but
beautiful. Now from there, what was your first kind of memories of yourself?
the earliest memory that I can think of would have been about 3 or 4, and I didn't get a wheelchair until I was 4, a good 4. I had a little I can only describe it as a skateboard with padding on the top and a little back rest on it and bigger wheels at the back, so it was low right down on the floor. And
That
I
sounds-
remember,
That sounds dope.
yeah,
I want to get.
I remember
I want one of them now.
I remember sitting on one of those with my cousin, sitting like in between my legs. She was about the same age, sitting in between my legs on the skateboard. Yeah, that would be the earliest.
So that was your accessibility. I don't know how financially stable your family is, but I mean, going through an accident like that is going to cost money to begin with. But having to change accessibility in your home that you already had because now your life's going to be within a wheelchair. Do you remember some of those early accessibility problems and solvers for your family?
I think because I was so small, it wasn't really an issue.
Okay.
I was tiny, so
Could be carried.
it could be picked up and carried and pulled upstairs. Because it was a car accident, I am insured by TAC.
My next question.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any time that I have needed wheelchairs or modifications done on my house, they would cover the cost of those.
I've got no idea what this is.
So the TAC, or it's just the road safety people. So
Yeah, I've seen the
it's
ads.
it's different in every state. And if you have a car accident, even if you are a drunk driver yourself, but your car's insured, you get a payout. Different levels of payout. So it all depends. So someone like Ashlee, or I've got friends in my basketball and tennis team, they had accidents where they get something called a loss of income payment for the rest of their lives. So what they would have been earning, a portion of what they would have been earning, even if they didn't have their accident. Something funny, I wasn't insured because I was born with a tumor. So I used to make jokes that I wanted someone to back a car into me or have a car accident. They'd be like, hang on, how did this wheelchair already be here? I was like, I premeditated that.
They ran over my legs.
Because you get like millions of dollars, as you should.
of
Because
course, your life's going to be different.
no, not different. Like obviously different, but I meant like the cost of being disabled is something that's often underestimated, isn't
It's
it?
incredible. I am thankful. I don't think about it every day, but when I do think about it, I am so thankful that my disability is because of a car accident. I look at people, with multiple sclerosis and that sort of thing who don't have access to the funds that I have access to.
And if you are listening to this in a farm or you have vehicles on a property, please insure it. Because if you have an accident in like a
Oh, and there's so many farming accidents.
but if you have an accident in your banged up ute that's not insured,
Oh, like your
Registered.
paddock bomb.
you don't registered, sorry, you don't get a payout. But if it is registered, you do.
Right.
So there's a little tip. It's worth doing that if you have a property where you drive a car that isn't registered, because you will get looked after forever if something does happen.
The biggest cost in your in your registration is actually a portion of insurance, and that's what it's insuring you for.
Do you know what? I actually hate paying my registration.
Oh, man.
Like I get it through and it's like $1,000+, and I'm always like, it always comes at the worst time, and I'm always like, these buggers, like, blah. had no idea that it was going towards.
No one does.
It's so
There you go.
important.
That's what I've
Look at
if I only
the
take one thing.
breakdown, and the bulk of it will be insurance.
Oh, wow.
And it's a really good insurance. I actually got a smaller lump sum payout than I could have gotten, but I've got coverage for life. So
Cool.
yeah, whenever I need a new wheelchair, they'll pay the cost.
So let's move into. So you're over 30.
Mhm.
You've got 2 kids. Now, how old are your kids and their names?
Willow is 9 and Jax is 6.
Okay, so you were quite a young mother.
I was.
Yep.
Yep.
And so, let's go through making babies.
How'd that happen?
How did that happen? I mean, I'm not asking as in like birds and the bees. I know how it happened, but let's go into that because did you always want to be a mum?
I did. I did always want to be a mum. I think it was a bit of internalized something I can't do. Someone, I've got it in my head somewhere that someone said I can't do it, so we're going to do it.
All right.
And I mean, I wanted to be a mum anyway, but I
course.
think it was, I need to, through the whole process, I needed to make sure that I was doing everything myself.
Well, here's another one because a couple of episodes ago we had Chantel on, Dylan's partner, and they spoke about their future and wanting children. And Dylan, it's an unknown for Dylan.
Yep.
So I guess Dylan, you could understand where that comes from of people saying and you yourself not knowing whether it's possible or not, and I guess proving the people wrong who say
Yeah.
that you can't or you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because shouldn't's
yeah.
probably a big
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Mm.
Especially from a female. Like, I'm not carrying the baby. Do
Mm.
you know what I mean? So
Good
it's a lot
point.
less, workload on
You get to
on
sit
myself.
back for 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just have to look after.
Societal
Chantel.
pressure to
Correct. Yeah.
to
So-
reproduce.
Before we get to the nitty gritty of the process that you went about it, did you have strong relationships with people growing up? Have you how did you go at school, like developing relationships and love and things like that?
Yeah, so I always had a good group of friends around. Where I'm from out west, there's not a huge disabled community. I'm finding more so now.
Mhm.
As you get older and you start looking for these things, that it's more prevalent. But as a kid, I didn't know another person in a wheelchair. There wasn't. I think I can maybe think of one throughout my whole school life. One instance of being in contact with another person in a wheelchair. There wasn't wheelchair sports happening out my way. So it was kind of a matter of, and my mum and my parents and my family were really good at just treating me exactly the same as everyone else and expecting me to do everything that everyone else did. I didn't get any
Good
slack cut.
good life lesson. for
Yeah,
any parents out there.
definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. There was never any and any poor the poor girl in the wheelchair from my friends and family anyway. So I just felt like every other kid, and I think that meant that I didn't really have any issues. There was no. I can't really think of a negative experience in like the playground type thing that ever happened. I think the worst thing that ever happened was somebody called me Meals on Wheels, and I thought that was hilarious.
Hey, yeah, I didn't know that. What about like dating? How did you go with that?
Yeah, I dated. It was, I felt a lot of pressure, I guess, to show that I could again.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, there was no, I dated when I wanted to and didn't when I didn't. I did definitely struggled with feeling like if I am not dating someone or I don't have a partner, then maybe I'm more disabled than I think I am.
Yeah, or people
that
might
makes
think
sense.
of you
Mm.
Yes.
being more disabled.
Yeah, or and even now, I'm a single mum now, and I really struggle with that. No, I'm actually happily single. I'm not single because I'm in a wheelchair. I don't want a partner.
Mhm.
Where I feel a lot of that when you meet someone and they say, "Oh yeah, so where's their dad?" Or we've separated. Oh, do you? So you don't have a partner? No, I don't.
Yeah,
Oh.
my mum didn't have a partner for my whole 30 years
Yeah.
of me growing
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
There'd be a
Didn't get
big
that.
there'd be a big assumption that your partner left you because you have your disability,
Definitely,
which is
definitely.
sucks.
Mm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That just shows the connotation that the public has that you are lesser than, so somebody left you for that reason when it's actually because you might have fallen out of love or whatever the reason was.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't want to talk.
Exactly.
We don't have to talk about your partner specifically,
Yeah.
but let's talk about both your kids are from the same dad.
They are, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that process. Did you guys mean to start a family so young?
Yeah, we did. Yep, it was a discussion that we'd had. I'd always wanted to do it young. I had always wanted to have kids young. I liked the idea of being young with my kids and not waiting until I was older and less able to parent them actively. And I think I don't know whether it was subconscious or just luck or whatever, but like my pregnancy with Willow, I don't know should we get into that?
Of course.
Yeah. Yep.
Please.
Oh yeah.
So my pregnancy with Willow was really easy. She was a small baby. I barely noticed I was pregnant. I was 22 or 23 when I was pregnant with her. And yeah, I barely noticed that I was pregnant 3 years later when I was pregnant with Jax and my body failed.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get into that in a sec, but did you conceive naturally? Is that the correct term? Or did you use IVF or what?
No,
What's the process?
It was naturally
Okay.
and very easily. We decided we wanted to get pregnant and we were pregnant.
I like, there you go. I didn't know too much about female pregnancies for paraplegics. I didn't know the process that it can happen.
And I didn't do any research. I didn't ask a doctor whether I should be getting pregnant, whether I could, whether I needed to.
So you try it out first.
Yeah, in hindsight, maybe I probably
Yeah,
should have spoken to a medical professional.
What was the advice hindsight? Like what do doctors normally say about this?
I don't know.
Don't
I
know.
never had to ask.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
I do. So I was classified as a high risk pregnancy, which I didn't like. I didn't see that I was
And
any high
why?
risk. Because they were concerned, I guess, for many reasons, but one of their concerns was that I would go into natural labour and not know that I was in natural labour. It was unknown whether I would feel contractions, and still unknown because I had cesareans with both of them.
So did you just set a time, or did they just go via ultrasound to know when it was ready to do the cesarean?
Yeah, so Willow was born at 39 weeks and Jax was born at 38, which is a week or two early.
Mhm.
And I think Willow, they wanted to actually do it a week earlier. And somebody who was urgent came in and that they needed to get the baby out. So she was put back a week. They wanted the babies to bake for as long as possible, but to still get in before there was a real risk of me going into natural labour and not knowing.
Right, of course. Because if your waters break at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, a lot more difficult for you to get to that hospital as quick as possible.
Or might not even know.
And
Oh.
your waters don't necessarily break
Sure, of
Yeah.
course.
at the right time.
When I eat a few extra hamburgers, I get a bit of a gut, and it's like it gets in the way of you sitting in your wheelchair. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like if you put on a bit of weight, how do you go sitting all day with a pregnant belly? Like, it would limit so much of your, like any pregnancy does for any woman, but sitting down, like you wouldn't be able to bend forward if you think about
No.
it. How did you go getting around?
Again, Willow, I didn't really notice it because I didn't show as much. She was a much smaller baby. She was 5 pound 3
wow.
and Jax was 7 pound 15. So
Right.
there was a big difference in their size.
Shout out to Jax, the big dog out there.
Yeah.
He's got his hat backwards, looking cool.
I told him he had to wear his hat because we've had some hair fails over this
Isolation.
in isolation.
haircuts.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And we're hoping to hear from your kids as well because you've brought them in. It'd be remiss of us not to ask them some of the questions about their growing up with a mum in a wheelchair as well. So
Yeah,
we're looking
definitely.
forward to hearing some of their answers. So you've had both your kids. You said that you struggled with the second. So what was the difference in pregnancy with the second child?
In comparison to other people's pregnancies, I probably didn't struggle all that much.
Okay.
They were both really
So
straightforward.
Willow was just so easy.
Yeah.
Right.
This is just a comparison of my two pregnancies. I was much bigger with Jax. I swelled up to the size of a beached whale. I was parenting another kid. I had to be on for her all the time, whereas with Willow, I didn't have anyone else. If I needed to, I could sleep.
When did your partner and yourself break up? So when did you become a single mother?
5-ish years ago.
Okay.
So Willow was like 4 and Jax was like 18 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So pregnancy and everything, we were together.
How did you recover from the pregnancies?
Fine.
Good.
Yeah, no issues. I was told to be really careful because I had a cesarean section and you're not supposed to lift anything heavier than your baby.
Of course.
I lift myself multiple times a day and I'm heavier than a baby.
This is where I need to get my notepad out. Ready? Got my notepad out because I need some tips. How the hell do you carry a baby, do all the things you need to do
Lift yourself out of the chair into
as a
bed.
mum? Like, no, but like get him in the car,
Oh.
get your chair in the car. Do you push a pram with your chair? Like, you know, there is a lot of logistical nightmares
Yeah.
around having a child. Did you just suck it and see and just figure it out as
Pretty
you went?
much. Pretty much. I did get some equipment made up by a volunteer organisation.
Can you describe what that stuff is?
Yeah, certainly. So the cot, I had the side taken off and turned into doors so that they opened with a
Oh.
latch. So I opened it and
Like
then
a
I could
barn
get,
door?
Yeah.
Because
I
you
could
wouldn't be
get-
able to reach over the cot like an able-bodied person.
Yeah, in and get the baby out. I used what's called a co-sleeper, which is not actually modified.
Yep. Is that on the
In-
side of the bed?
Yeah, so it attaches to the side of the bed. So up until they were about 5 or 6 months old, they slept in there.
Yeah, Chantel recommended that to us. It's like on the side, you can just rock it and you don't have to get up and they can just, you know, they're like attached to the
Oh,
bed.
cool. So
Yeah.
not like at the end of the room or in a corner of the room or
Yeah,
in the room
and in the
next
cot,
door.
it's too hard to
It's
get
just-
Yeah,
to
so
the-
I didn't have to get up in the middle of
Makes
the night.
sense.
Just sat up, grabbed the baby, fed him, put him
Makes
back in,
sense.
that sort of thing.
I might get one of them for myself. Sounds cool.
That's Dylan going into the doghouse when he gets in trouble. He just opens up his barn doors and rolls into the other bed and closes them behind him.
Into the cot, sleep.
So what other incredible accessibility options are there out that we don't know about?
So there's probably a whole lot better stuff out there now. I think that when I started my journey into parenthood, that it was only 10 years ago, but 10 years is a long time.
Long time.
Yeah, in the
God.
terms of where the world has come and
The
but just
iPhone
being able
3
to
versus
find
the
these
iPhone
things.
11. Just think of that.
And being able to find these things, like now I'd be able to find 100 things that would have made my life
Yeah.
easier.
Google.
Yeah.
It is just, and also, they used to put limits on like what you could import because just say one brand of wheelchair had the rights in Australia, you could go on a website in America, there'd be like 100 brands and they're cheap, but you couldn't get them because of import taxes. Like there would be that person would have a monopoly.
Okay.
So now
Yeah.
those monopolies are now gone. So you can actually shop online for products.
Go
to
on
help.
wish.com and get yourself a new
Yeah.
wheelchair.
Legit, man. There's like so many more accessibility options out there, which when we were growing up, you know, we're not too dissimilar in age. There's none of that. You know what I mean? And the cost was crazy.
And just asking other people. Like I didn't know anyone else in a wheelchair or certainly didn't know anyone else in a wheelchair that had been a parent before.
Definitely no podcasts normalizing disability. Am I right?
What about judgment?
Yeah.
That would have been a pretty big thing. I mean, someone who's, as you said, very visibly pregnant,
Yep.
especially with the second. Was that right? Was that when you said you
Yeah.
blew up like a
Yeah.
whale? So it was very obvious that because you said the first time you were hardly showing or not so much, but second time round.
Yeah. I don't remember any judgment while I was actually pregnant.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah. I could have just been really fat. Like I could have just been a really fat person.
Did you have to? I'm going all in. Did you have to get a bigger wheelchair, or were you breaking out the sides of the chair that you have?
I wasn't in this wheelchair.
Okay. So just to describe, you got quite a sporty, slimline wheelchair at the moment.
Yeah.
You roll in that big hospital chair while you're pregnant.
It was definitely bigger. I don't remember getting it bigger
Specifically.
because I was pregnant.
Mhm.
No.
It was just shit wheelchair design back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. This one's been slimmed down a lot, even in comparison to the one I had like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Did you feel the birth?
No, I wanted to try for natural. I really wanted to.
Did they just say no way? It would have been like,
No.
no.
No, they didn't actually.
Really?
Ah.
Good on 'em.
No, not good on them.
Okay.
So I was going into the Royal Women's because I was a high risk pregnancy,
Yeah.
and my local hospital wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole.
Hmm.
And the way it works there is that every time you go in for an appointment, you see a different obstetrician. And so the first 2 or 3, I was like, so we're going to try for natural, yeah? This is the plan. We're going to try for natural. If I end up in a Caesar, that's fine, but I want to try for natural. And my mum's going, Ashlee, that's not possible. Be realistic here.
Yeah, no way.
Mum, what do you know?
Yeah,
I can do
so
this. I can do anything.
Good
Had
on
you
you.
heard of somebody in this T6 or
You've
no?
just gone, yeah, Paraplegia, just do natural.
Well, you wanted
on
to
ya.
prove people wrong that you couldn't do it different. It wasn't anything different.
And
If
then,
I was pregnant, I'd be like, drug me up, get it out. I'm not, whatever you need.
Oh no, I wasn't worried about feeling it. I wouldn't have felt it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do the work.
Right.
Oh,
I
Brilliant.
could have, if I thought I was going to feel it, I probably
that's good gear,
would
actually.
have had a different idea.
But would you have been, oh God, very personal question. Would you have been able to have pushed?
So this was the concern. So then I go in on one of the other obstetricians, and I walk in, and I don't walk in, I roll in, and I tell her, yeah, we're going to try for natural. She goes, no, you're not. That's ridiculous. Why do you think you could do that?
Yeah, well, if I got halfway out, you couldn't get the rest. You can't do that.
Yeah, she's like, your hips didn't go through puberty. A head's not going to fit through that.
Yeah. Great call.
And we don't, you'd be testing to see whether you can, A, feel the contractions, B, push the baby out. Do you really want to be testing that on your child? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
fair
maybe
call.
not.
Fair call.
So then plan B was a Caesar, and generally you are given I can't think of the word,
Epidural.
thank you, one of those. So you're still awake for the procedure, but because I've had so much spinal surgery, they tried to do the epidural, and that was unsuccessful. So I was put under general anaesthesia. So I did not feel anything, didn't know anything. Woke up with a
little
baby.
babies. Beautiful.
Pretty much.
What do your kids mean to you?
I don't think that I could put that into words. They mean
Try
everything.
for us.
They're my world. They're why I do what I do. They're why I want the world to be a better place. Yeah.
What does the world look like as a better place?
More love, less fighting,
Yeah.
no virus.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Do you think your kids are proud to have a mum who has a disability?
I'd like to think that they are, but I don't think that they know any different. I don't think that they realise that it's special. When Matt asked me to
Our
get
producer?
to get some responses to his questions, and even the thought of bringing them in here, oh my God, what are they going to say? They don't know any different.
To preface that, to give you a bit of backstory, that was me who asked Matt to get those
Okay.
questions. So I wanted to see, because we haven't had a mother with a disability on, and it's such an important topic that we want to cover, and you're doing it so well. But what does it mean from the kids? So I sent some questions to Matt, hoping on your iPhone or whatever you could send them through to us so we could hear from your kids. But we've decided to get rid of that audio, and because we have your beautiful kids in here today, we're going to ask similar questions. But I know the answers that your kids gave, and they're pretty wonderful. You're right. But here's when I say that they don't know any different. Do you think it would be different if, let's say, the accident happened when they were born, like they're not in the car, you
Yep.
become paraplegic? Do you and they're knowing about it? Do you think life would be different?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. I would remember a time before. I would
Yeah.
be struggling with that. I never had that. I never had that adjustment period. I never had to go, oh, this was so much easier when I could walk.
Yeah.
Or before the accident. And so they don't know any different. Jax's biggest issue with me is that I can't kick a football. But we still play football. I can handball it, but he can't think, I remember when Mum did kick the football. Like it's not missing something that they've ever had.
Should we introduce your kids?
Sure.
Who do you want to bring in first for some questions?
Oh,
Willow or Jax?
either.
All right,
I don't think
let's,
it's going to make
Let's go oldest to youngest.
Willow's the shy one.
Hello, Willow. Thanks very much for coming in.
Talking close.
We'd like to know a bit about your mum. For one, I'd like to know, why is your mum the best mum in the world?
Because she's fun.
Mm-hmm. What else do you love about your mum?
Do you like having to help mum around sometimes because she's in the chair?
She doesn't need help that much.
There you go. Great answer. What do you say when other kids ask you about why your mum is in the chair?
I ask how she got into a wheelchair.
What do you say?
I say how she got into a wheelchair.
Okay.
Which is?
A car crash.
Car crash.
Are you proud of your mum?
Yeah.
Why?
Mhm.
Because you love her? Because you love her? Very good. If you could... Oh, you go. Sorry.
I was going to say, I've seen a photo of you guys in Superwomen/Superman costumes. Do you remember that photo? No?
Remember from your birthday at Mixed Jump and Play? You don't
No.
remember that? I think she was 4.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So let's
It
go.
was a while ago.
Do you think your mum's a superwoman? Well, thank you very much, Willow.
Thanks, Willow.
Can you get your head back and get your brother in, please? Thank you very much. What about Jax? Come on in, Jax. All right, we've got some questions for you. You ready for your first question?
Hang on. First and foremost, Jax, how old are you?
6.
6.
Bang.
You're a cool-looking dude.
Very cool.
Do you pick your own clothes? Yeah, I'm
Cool, good
loving it.
job.
All right, I need some fashion advice later. Is that cool? Cool.
Cool.
Good.
Hey, Jax, what do you love most about your mum?
That she helps us with school.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good. Are you
okay.
good at school? Do you think you get that from your mum? Is she smart? That's
You've got to answer. You can't nod.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool.
Now, who helps? Do you help mum more, or does she help you more?
Mum helps me more.
Yeah.
She helps you more, yeah. Do you ever help her get around? Do you like help her with a wheelchair in the car and stuff?
Mm.
Do you like
Yeah.
Do you like doing that? Do you feel strong?
Yeah.
You've got
Can-
muscles.
Can you help me with my wheelchair in my
Mm.
car?
You reckon? It's a very heavy wheelchair, his one.
No, he's shaking his head.
We were watching a video of you, Dylan,
Oh.
yesterday or the day before.
Oh, pushing on the road?
Yep. Because Jax's biggest problem with me is that we can't have a proper race because I
Oh,
always lose.
You're not fast enough.
He doesn't understand that
Okay.
I'm just slow. It's not because I'm in a wheelchair.
Have you ever been in a wheelchair before? Have you?
Yeah, you use mine all the time.
What's your favourite thing to do?
Push.
Push?
Mhm.
Can you do wheelies?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can do wheelies. Cool.
It's pretty cool. And what about with your mum's chair? What's one thing that you find a little bit difficult about mum in her chair?
That when the lamp for our car is broken, it's hard to put it in and push it out.
What was that one?
We've got a new car,
Okay.
Oh,
which
broke
is
down.
having lots of teething issues.
Ah.
So you have to be the mechanic, do you? Yeah, you got the skills.
And so is it hard? Is it more difficult or not
Mm.
to get used to get it into the car?
Mm.
Okay. And are you helping out mum a lot with that?
Yeah.
Very good to hear.
So
What? Oh, you go.
the new car has a ramp or a lift, which we haven't had before. Usually I just pull it in and out.
Yeah.
And we're having some technical difficulties with that
Oh.
ramp or that lift sometimes, aren't we?
Do-
And Jax's muscles pull my chair in and out.
Give us a flex, Jax. Yeah, boy.
Oh, look at the muscles!
Hey, what? Do you go to school?
Yes, you got to
Yeah.
say yes.
What grade are you in?
1.
Grade 1. Now, do the other kids ask about your mum being in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you tell them?
What do they say?
What do they say?
How did Mum get in a wheelchair?
And do you tell them the story? Do you get proud when you tell them that story?
Mm.
You are proud?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that.
You should be. Well, hey, thanks very much for coming in. Do you want to head back to your iPad and your
Yeah.
sister?
Cool.
Thanks, Jax,
We'll
you
get a
legend.
photo after.
Yeah, we'll
He
get a
thinks
photo
he
together.
can race you
Hey.
and
Oh!
Wait, come here. Go back on the mic.
beat you.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Jax, do you reckon you can beat me in a race?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
What are you on? Are you going to be on a bike?
Are you running?
Running.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going to have to have a challenge
That
later.
might be a
all right?
challenge, Jax. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you very much.
You're only allowed to race him if you win.
I'll
Oh,
smash hey,
he,
hey,
needs to know.
He needs to be put in his
hey,
place.
I'll smash him, all right? No mercy.
What are some of the, now that technology has advanced, what are some
Yes.
of the new abilities that you're finding within accessibility? Apart from your ramp in your teething issue car.
Yeah, let's not go there. Probably the ability to connect with other people. Up until probably 18 months ago, I literally did not speak to another person with a disability or in a wheelchair, just because in my community and in my social group, I suppose, there isn't anyone. And about 12 months ago, I did a scuba diving course in Sydney and found out that people in wheelchairs are actually all right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so from there, I've started following people on Instagram and just, I suppose, normalizing that for myself.
Cool. That's interesting. That's so recent.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I'm
What's that
as
change been
mind
like in your
blown
life?
as anyone. It has just allowed me to, I suppose, embrace the things that are different in my life because of being in a wheelchair. Before that, I was very much, my disability means nothing, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change anything in my life. I'm exactly the same as anybody else. Whatever you can do, I can do the same. Justifying to myself why things might have been different, whereas now I'm much more able to just go, oh, well, it's different because I'm in a wheelchair. I'm in a wheelchair. Surprise, surprise. And that does mean that I might need to do things differently, or I might be slower at something, or it's given me the confidence, I suppose, to ask for things to be changed as well, whereas beforehand I wouldn't want to put anybody out or make anything more difficult for somebody else.
So accepting your normal, maybe?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, let's do some bowl of uncomfortable.
I just have one question quickly before we get there. Scuba diving, you need your legs to kick, don't you?
No, bro, big strong arms.
You do to kick, but yeah,
don't need to
you can
kick.
swim with your arms.
Who needs kicking's overrated?
Fair play. Because I went in Bali once with manta rays and I struggled because they put weights around your waist.
Yeah.
It felt like the whole goal was to sink me
Man.
That is.
Okay, right.
You just got to be able to get back up.
with your arms. God, you
Yes,
must have some
exactly.
strength
Ash and
in
I have
those
big
biceps.
shoulders, mate.
Okay, you really do. Broad people. Let's do the bowl of uncomfortable. This is where we have people from our social media who have hit us up with questions, knowing that you're going to be the guest.
Yep.
And there might be some sneaky ones from us. You never know. So I got a couple.
Yeah.
Have you got one or two?
I've got one, and it is actually a message from a person who listens to the podcast, and it's going to make me incredibly uncomfortable.
All right, so I'll go first. You go, then I'll go.
Please.
Do you worry that your kids will get bullied because of you having a disability?
Not really.
What happens if it happens?
I would hope that I have brought them up to be able to deal with that well. I've brought them up to be open and honest and to be able to voice and stand up for themselves and to not worry about other people and what they think. I shouldn't say that I haven't worried about that. I certainly did when they were younger and before I had kids. Certainly worried that, what are you doing bringing a kid into the world that could, with just another added issue already from the get-go. But as they grow up, I realise that they are pretty well adept at dealing with that if it was to happen. There hasn't, as far as I'm aware, and I think I would be aware, been any issues so far. And most kids are fine. Most kids are just curious.
But there is a point where kids change.
High school.
There
High
is,
school.
yeah,
I was
high
gonna say
school.
high school.
I don't want to be doom and gloom.
Yeah,
Because I was going to say, your brother Zach, would he have been bullied about having a brother in a wheelchair?
100%. But around the 12 to 14s,
yeah,
So it'd be interesting to see. But no, I'm with you. Hopefully they
yeah.
being open and brushing it off because they're proud of the person that you are.
Yeah, and I mean, I tell them all the time, people are going to be, there are going to be, can we swear on this?
Of course you
Go
can.
for it.
There are going to be assholes in the world.
Yeah,
and
that's not a swear word. I thought you were going to say something much worse.
I thought we were going to drop some big F and C's there. Oh,
my
God.
sister-in-law said, I dare you to say the C word.
Oh, God. I beep it.
That's funny.
Yeah, there are nasty people in the world, and I think that a problem with society in general is that we are getting a bit too soft in letting other people's thoughts and opinions of us hurt us too much. And obviously it's going to hurt. Like somebody doesn't like you or somebody says something nasty, it's going to hurt. But you've got to move on and get over that. And I hope that my kids are able to do that. If it wasn't me being in a wheelchair, it'd be something else. They're both rangers.
This one came through Facebook. Now, this person was happy with me saying their first name, but I'm actually not going to because only we have about 500 people who follow us on Facebook, and I think if you search the followers, you could find this person. I won't say their name. Oh God,
You are worrying me.
yeah, it's not nice. But it's a question about their curiosity.
Okay.
He wrote, "I think you're a selfish mother for raising your kids knowing they would live limited lives. Tell me why I'm wrong."
Whoa. No, that's not uncomfortable. Limited how? How is their life limited? They don't.
Talk as if you're imagining this person will listen to this podcast.
Yeah. I'd like to know, how is their life limited? What are my kids missing out on that any other kid is getting? Like I said, my son's biggest problem is that I can't kick a football, and we still play football. I'd like you to kick it. So what are they missing out on? They are.
Do you see limitations within your own life?
No, none.
Great.
Obviously there are things that I would like to do that I physically can't, but I probably only want to do those things because I can't do them.
And you proved some of those things wrong as well with childbirth.
Yeah, exactly.
You can overcome some.
Exactly. My kids are loved and safe and happy. They have everything that they could want. They experience anything. If they want to do something, we do it and I make it happen, whether I can be the person to do it with them or whether I have to get somebody else to take them. I'm trying to think of an example.
My mum was a single mum and she couldn't take me fishing. She didn't know how to fish. And so the guy who tiled our house when I was a kid took me fishing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
And that was mum asking him. She's like, Angus really wants to learn how to fish. I don't know anything. I don't know how to bait a hook. And he took me out fishing. And that's my able-bodied mother.
That's
you know?
And
Rex Hunt was your Tyler.
You better.
And that's exactly right. It wouldn't matter whether I'm the parent or Angus, you're the parent. There are going to be things that you don't know how to do or that you don't want to do or that you can't do that your kids are going to miss out on that experience because of your inability to do or your lack of want to do them. What's the difference?
That also applies to me. You know what I mean? The same question. And I think two things. One, I might not be able to do it the same way as Angus as a dad, but there is ways that I can do everything.
Yeah.
And I think with added accessibility and, things like that, there are much more opportunities to do more things. But for every one thing that you and I can't do as a parent, Ashlee, who gives a shit? Because there are 10,000 other things that we can do.
Yeah.
And I think we as people and parents would focus on those things that we can't do when I don't think your kids even care.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, that's right.
And there's another way around doing it. And it's a valid question for that person to ask because it's good to talk about it. You know what I mean? Because when I'm going to have a child and I'm in the supermarket and people look down at me and go, oh, is that guy, is he in a wheelchair? That poor kid. They can get stuffed. And the reason they think that is because of negative connotations from the past.
Yep.
And it's important to have these conversations and share these conversations because actually the next time you are shopping, hopefully there aren't other women looking down at you going, why did she bring a child into the world?
Yeah.
Or it might be, our other hope with this podcast is getting it so broad and so well listened to that someone might see you from our social channels or just maybe put two and two together from hearing your story. And they might actually be able to picture what happens for you next when you leave the supermarket. It's like, oh, God, I think that's Ashlee Morton. I think she's got a dodgy car with a ramp. So she's going to get her grocery shopping into a car via a ramp when she leaves here. That's our hope.
It's going to be more like, Ashlee Morton, isn't she single?
Hey, I know the perfect person for Ashlee. No, we know you're happy single.
Before we wrap it up, I want one piece of advice for people that has, mothers with a disability, but just mothers in general. What's your bit of advice you want to leave people?
I don't know if I'm far enough in to be able to be giving parenting advice here.
Well, no, I don't think it has to be broad knowledge of, you're not super nanny or whatever that person
Yeah.
was, but what's something that you've learned through mothering with a disability?
It could be taking the leap. It could be something you've learned.
Just trust yourself. We're at the end of the day, we're mammals and we have instincts for a reason. Yeah, just trust your instincts.
And you just learn on the go.
Yeah. Yep.
And I can see the way your two beautiful children look at you. They love you to bits. It's cute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice.
It really is. And we, on behalf of our ListenABLE family, want to thank you so much for coming in and being honest. I know I learn a lot, and I worry about being a parent, and I couldn't even imagine, being the female in the equation if you had the disability.
And single as well.
And single, you kick in metaphorical goals, not physically. And I know, we really love and appreciate you coming on and being so honest.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
Especially in this time as well. It means a lot. If people do want to get in contact with you, is there a way that you want to be contacted, or if someone wants to reach out to you?
You can find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Ashlee
Morton. Yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe we might do a little Facebook post when this is released, and maybe we can get you in the comments for any other mothers who want to connect.
Yeah,
That'd
sure.
be really nice to do.
Totally.
We appreciate your time, like Dylan said. Thank you so much for coming in and being part of ListenABLE.
Thanks, Ash.
We appreciate it.